What's up, you guys, and welcome to the channel. My name is Chase, and today we'll be talking about Evil Dead Burn, which I just got out of the theater seeing. So basically, this is kind of like my out of the theater reaction without me actually being physically at the theater. So going into this, I gotta say that my introduction into the franchise of Evil Dead was actually through Army of Darkness when I was a small child, and I remember my dad watching it on TV one day, and I remember all the little ashes coming after Ash, like all the tiny little ashes going after that original big Ash. And Army of Darkness in itself is such a weird and over the top movie, which I really do enjoy. But as a kid, this movie traumatized me. Like it frightened me as a kid. And I remember telling my dad this a few months ago, and he was like, "Oh, that's a stupid movie right there. Like why did that traumatize you right there?" But when I got older, obviously this was the start of me actually getting into horror movies. Earlier this year, I kind of wanted to get into the Evil Dead series, so that way I could prep myself for this movie right here. But also, I can't really call myself a Sam Raimi fan if I haven't watched a good amount of his stuff outside of the Spider-Man trilogy and the Doctor Strange Multiverse of Madness movie, which I really enjoyed. I know a lot of people really didn't like it, especially looking back at it, but I really did enjoy what Sam Raimi did with that movie. So to go into a franchise like Evil Dead, start from the beginning where Sam Raimi basically created it, to where we are now within the 6th film in this whole franchise right here, this has to be one of the best horror franchises that we are witnessing currently right now. And the reason I say that is because it's like a rapper with a really solid discography, and there's no bad album. There is no bad Evil Dead movie within this whole what do you call a 6-movie thing? But basically this whole little installment, this franchise right here, has no single bad movie. Now, could you say maybe Evil Dead 1, maybe Evil Dead 2, or Army of Darkness probably aged horribly? You could possibly say that, but these are really older movies. I mean, I'm looking at it right now. Evil Dead came out in 81, Army of Darkness came out in 93, and Evil Dead 2, while somewhat of a remake slash reboot of Evil Dead 1 in the first like 10 to 20 minutes, and then it actually goes into the sequel part of the movie itself. Yes, there are some things that you can actually complain about when it comes to this franchise, but when it comes to overall quality of these movies right here, Evil Dead is up there. Like when we think about it, it might not be the most pivotal within horror franchises, but when we look at what it did with the first movie and then the whole franchise quality wise, it's up there. Evil Dead 1 I enjoyed, Evil Dead 2 I really enjoyed. Army of Darkness is also another movie that, you know, I know a lot of people love, but I also know a lot of people do not like it either because of how like left field it is compared to the previous 2 movies itself. But I really did enjoy it. I actually like Bruce Campbell's performance in all 3 of these movies as well, especially within Evil Dead 2 and Army of Darkness. Now, when we get to the standalone, the newer movies, the Evil Dead 2013, Evil Dead Rise, and Evil Dead Burn, obviously these are very centered horror movies is what I would like to say. Very supernatural-esque horror movies. It brings the best things of what we got from Evil Dead 1 and 2, and it brings it within the modern times, and these movies are great as well. Honestly, the weakest one is Evil Dead 2013, but that's still a good movie by Fede Alvarez itself. Now, when we're talking about Evil Dead Burn, oh my God. When it comes to this movie right here, I thoroughly enjoyed it, man. This was the type of scary movie that I like, where it has that production, it has that value behind it. This feels very grandiose, especially within that 3rd final act of the movie itself. I was just looking and I was just mesmerized. I mean, some of the camera shots, some of the cinematography, some of the posing of like the camera shots itself. Oh my God, this movie had me on the edge. But I've been doing all this talking about Evil Dead. Let's actually talk about the synopsis for this movie, and I don't want to give off too much because I don't want to spoil anybody, but the quick synopsis off of Google is: after the loss of her husband, a grieving woman seeks solace with her in-laws at their secluded family home. However, it soon becomes a reunion from hell as the Book of the Dead, aka the Necronomicon, unleashes demonic forces that transform them into deadites one by one. And that's all I'm gonna say, because I don't really want to get into spoilers within this video right here, but this is the traditional Evil Dead movie where, you know, someone reads some words of the Necronomicon, deadites start coming out one by one. These are the ultimate rage baiters, ultimate possessors. These are the ultimate like JoJo villains, because they could bleed out as much as anybody else and they'll still be perfectly fine. So going into this movie, I kind of expected like, okay, we're gonna be at this secluded area, we're gonna read the Necronomicon, deadites are gonna come out, and we're gonna have to find a way to actually kill it. But the actual tie-in of Evil Dead Burn and, you know, the whole theming of it being burning, I really did like that tied into basically dang near a good amount of the movie, especially when it comes to the violence and the gore of this movie right here, and just some of the look of the actual movie itself. The atmosphere itself, oh, I really did enjoy this movie right here. Now, actors, they did a good job. for me, I like the actors and what they did with it. They didn't do anything crazy, but when it comes to what they did with these characters and what they did with the writing, like I said, this isn't anything like off the walls crazy or anything, but I actually felt for these characters. And when it comes to a horror movie, it's a lot harder to actually attach to the characters, because you know a lot of these characters ain't gonna survive by the end, especially when it comes to an Evil Dead movie. There's gonna be one survivor at the end of the movie, right? So going into this movie right here, I didn't expect much, but I actually thoroughly enjoyed what I got, especially when it comes to some of the backstory with these characters, some of the actual relationship dynamics with these characters as well, and the constant theme that we had with some of these characters as well, because everybody is basically effed up in this movie. Like, nobody is like a good person, but nobody's necessarily a bad person based off of what you get from their past and some of the ways that they interact with other characters as well. There's like 2 or 3 characters in here where I'm like, you get a pass, you get a graceful pass, because honestly it's just out of your hands. But man, some of the stuff that they do, oh my gosh, the violence within this movie. This has to be one of the most violent, scary movies I've seen outside of Terrifier, obviously, but for a general audience, for them to actually go to theaters and watch, this is probably the most violent horror movie I've seen. And Evil Dead isn't like a stranger when it comes to violence and brutality and things like that. But going into this movie right here, oh my God, there was so many times I was in the movie theater seat just squirming and squinching, and I just had to stop eating the popcorn and I had to stop drinking my water, because I'm like, this is too much happening right here. And there's just so many creative ways of like really brutalizing somebody, which is crazy to say, but I really did like where we was going with this movie. And in fact, one of the best shots in this movie is actually in the trailer, when you see that girl kind of like crawling on the ground. It was in the teaser trailer where she's crawling on the ground and you see this one guy fighting another deadite, and seeing that scene in the movie, obviously it makes perfect sense in context, but the way that that scene was shot, I was like, oh my God, some of the way some of these scenes are shot within this movie, I was just on the floor with my jaw dropped, because I was like, oh my God, this is beautiful. This is such a good looking horror movie. I honestly had no problems with it. There was like 1 or 2 scenes where I was just like, why did we have that? Why was that there? Because it certainly, it didn't feel like product placement. It felt like song placement, and you was trying to like, you know, like, hey, yo, I got a homie who got a song that he want to put in the movie. You think we could put it in here for these 2 to 3 seconds? Like, it felt very forced. It felt very unnecessary. And there are certain things where I'm like, all right, we're going through the ebbs and flows of an Evil Dead movie. Like I said, if you don't like that style, then you're not going to like this movie. But this movie right here, like I said, when it comes to the characters, the actual plot itself, when it comes to the cinematography, the way that certain shots are like really set up, and the way that some of these characters really had to come out of these scenes, I had a really good time with it. And that last third act, oh my gosh, the way that the whole background is just all red, it's just kind of like in a blaze, and I'm just like, oh, this feels like there's some money behind it. This feels so cinematic. I am enjoying myself. I'm just in my seat, like, I'm just smiling ear to ear, because I'm like, I'm having such a good time with this movie right here. Like I said, this isn't the perfect scary movie, but I don't have a lot of flaws with it. I will say that I thoroughly enjoyed my time with Evil Dead Burn. This is a series I really do like. I'm really hyped for Evil Dead Wraith, which is supposed to be coming out, I believe, 2028, which is supposed to be a prequel to the whole franchise in general. So I'm ready to see where that goes. But we are still left with the cliffhanger from Evil Dead 2013 and 2014 remake. And I won't say anything about that, but honestly, with this movie right here, you could watch this without watching the previous 5 movies or the TV series Ash versus the Evil Dead. So with this movie right here, there is a certain scene, especially within the post and mid-credit scenes, where you're gonna have to watch the movie before to kind of get what's happening within this post-credit scene. But I'm very curious to see where we're going at now, because the next movie we're getting isn't going to be a sequel to this. It's going to be a prequel. So is that prequel going to be a prequel sequel where it's going to show us events before, but it's also going to show us events currently? I don't know. I'm very excited to see where this franchise goes, especially with these post and mid-credit scenes right here. But besides that, like I said, I had a really good time with Evil Dead Burn. Really enjoyed myself. Like I said, the actors isn't really like, you know, anything crazy like a Denzel Washington, but it's a horror movie. As long as I feel for the characters, I'm just like, dang, they really had to die. Like, I know these horror characters are going to do certain things where I'm just like, what are we doing? Like, dog, why are you acting so weak? Because there were plenty of moments in there where there was a male character in here, and I'm just like, this is what we doing? You're not gonna post up? You're not gonna get in the paint? You are really scary right now. But seeing all the things that he's been put through, I give him a pass. But you guys gotta let me know if you are planning to see Evil Dead Burn this weekend. Let me know what your favorite Evil Dead movie is within the comment section down below. If you are a Evil Dead fan or a Sam Raimi fan, I know he was a producer on this. I just, you know, I want to see somebody back. You know, I want to see a certain character back, and we really haven't gotten that payoff from Evil Dead 2013 or 2014 remake, and I've been waiting for that, but it doesn't happen in this movie. So I'm not gonna spoil it. You guys know what I'm talking about if you've seen that movie. And if you're watching this and you haven't seen that movie, then you're going to be completely lost of what I'm talking about. But let me know what you think about this movie down in the comment section down below. If you have seen it or if you are going to see it, let me know what you think about my review so far. Like I said, thank you guys for watching. If you're new to the channel, you have not already, go ahead, hit the subscribe button, post notification bell, and don't forget to like the video itself. But as usual, my name is Chase. Thank you guys for watching. Peace.